lives one day at a time. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. They're here to get your day going fine. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. And here's your host, Miss Kim Robinson.
Black Lives Matter. Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Mr. Sedric back again after another wonderful, glorious week. How y'all doing today? Yeah, that sounds like everybody's doing quite well. Glad to have you back. Today. We are celebrating another wonderful Friday. Man, great week. Last week trying, this week trying, but man, God is still blessing. And so I wanted to welcome everybody in. Today we'll be having a little discussion. I know how. We want to talk about a couple of real issues of our time right now. And, today's one of them days. I've been thinking about education. Why do we as black parents, why is it important that we educate our kids? Now I want y'all to listen today. Everything we do to inform our children is education. But I want to talk a little bit about secondary, post-secondary. I want to talk about educating in the house, outside the house. I want to get you to high school. I want to get you to elementary, high school. And if you don't go to college, I want to get you to trade school. Then I want to get you to college. Then we want to go to graduate degrees. We want to talk about a little bit about why is it so important for us to educate our kids. And so, with that being said, I did have a little bit of a reading today, and I really didn't come up with much, as we like to say, super holy, sanctified kind of thing. But I was drawn into the book of Proverbs, and it very simple scripture reading, Proverbs chapter 9, verse 9, one very simple verse. And I don't want to take it out of context, but I just want to read the word for what it says. I may go a little past 9, but 9 is where I was thinking, and it basically said, instruct the wise, and they will be wiser still. Teach the righteous, and they will add to their learning. And verse 10 goes on to say, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. For through wisdom your days will be many, and your years will be added to your life. You know what? So I wanted to stop right there. And since I was just talking about education, we're talking about wisdom. And we know wisdom is God-given knowledge. And I tell you what, we can take the knowledge that we get in our secular schools, and God can use that. And when God starts to use that, that's that wisdom. That's what comes from that. And that allows us to grow in so many different areas of our lives. It allows our children to grow. And I tell you this, the greatest thing that we can do for our democracy here in America is to produce and educate wise children, because we know what it is. We don't want foolish kids. We don't want them repeating the foolish mistakes that we've made. We don't want them stumbling over their own foolish mistakes of their lives and fall further and further and further behind. So with that being said, I'd just like to invite God in and allow God to have his way with our conversation today. And I want to ask that everyone continue to pray for our nation, for our leaders, and pray for our children. And let's pray for one another. And with that being said, I want to go ahead, if I can, I want to introduce our two guests that are on today, which my two partners in crime here of late, Jason and Terry. And I apologize, I never use last names because I don't ask permission, but I do want to add the two brothers in so we can have a chat. You guys on today?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How you gentlemen doing?
Doing great.
Going well, man.
Going well. Have y'all run into anything lately? Cause y'all think about, wow, why did I go to college? Y'all ever had those thoughts?
Oh, goodness. No, I haven't thought about that like that. I look at it as, I don't look at it as like, why did I go?
Okay. I mean, that's fine. What about you, Jason? You ain't run across those things? Like,
well,
why did I go to college?
It's funny this topic came up because I'm dating a teacher, and we were having to talk about education and how important education is or isn't, and how much we value education. And it was a very interesting conversation. And I shared my thoughts with her, and she got a little offended because I was questioning like how we value education. And I was looking at the high school level and even the college level. You just look at, and I looked at it from like a financial perspective, because if you think about it, the things we value, we put a high price with and a high price to. But if you look at like the earnings of like most educators, whether teachers, professors, they're not really that high. And so this is a good topic. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, awesome. Wow. I believe in higher education. I don't believe that a college or a university is the only place you can get it. I will say that. I'll put that out there first. Full disclaimer. My parents were old school. I got some old school thoughts in my own mind, but man, I was reading an article, newspaper article, and I came up on. It says top 6 reasons. Check this out. Top 6 reasons for not attending college. Now, well, before I even get to college, let's go back to grade school. And let's conquer grade school, and let's go up to high school and that stuff. I'm from Dallas. Everybody knows my favorite city. I call it Get Down, D-Town, because when I go to Dallas, I like to have fun. I like to get down, right? I let my hair down, right? Get down, D-Town. That's what I call it. I don't think nobody in the world calls it that except me. So y'all know if y'all hear that, they came across me. They took my words, okay? But check this out. When I was growing up, my parents made it a point. They made it a point to teach us as kids that education was important. Now, of course, when you're a little kid, you understand, but you don't understand. For me, the big deal was I didn't want to be the dumbest kid in class. But check this, for my parents. My parents always saw education as a means for me to have a better life, not to get ahead, not to embarrass people. They just saw it a means. The way they taught me was, Sedric, you can have a better life. You don't have to have the life that we have. You don't have to struggle. See, my parents only knew struggle because of the era that they were born in, right? And so they always wanted me to gain as much knowledge as possible. And by my dad being ex-military, my mom being the daughter of sharecroppers, my dad always said, you have to know your job, the job of the guy above you, and you better have an understanding of the guy above his job. So, I've got to go twofold. In other words, my parents taught me, they said, you have to know more and do more than the other people have to do. So in my household, education was important because it was a means to a better life. Jason, how about yourself? What's your experience with your mom telling you about education? Or do you have
It actually was interesting. My mom is one of 10 kids, and only 2 of her brothers and sisters, graduate. Well, actually, they all graduated high school. Well, I think most of them graduated high school, but only 2 of them actually went off to college. So for me, my mom did emphasize education. I mean, to the point where, I never missed a day. I can tell you throughout my whole school career, I missed 3 days, and that's from elementary all the way through high school. And because I wasn't able to get away with, hey, Mom, I'm feeling sick, or Mom, I don't want to go. And then when I got in the classroom, the expectation was, man, they'll be messing around in there because you're there for a purpose and you're there for a reason. So she did push, education a lot through high school, and then going into college, she was just like, hey, this is something that just understand that you just got to be smart, because you can go out there and, because at one point I was talking about I didn't want to go to college. I can just, I'm smart enough, I can do it without college. And she just said, hey, you can, but the struggle is going to be a lot harder. And, she really emphasized, like, man, I raised you so that you can go to college and you can have a better life. So this is not what I want from you, but you're an adult, and I'm going to let you make the choice. So ultimately I ended up going to college, but, yeah, education was big in my family.
Okay. So, and what about you there, Terry?
Well, growing up, both my parents, they went to high school. They never finished. My dad was made to stop by his dad when he was about a sophomore or junior in high school. And that really disturbed him. That really bothered him because my dad liked school. And he made sure that we were coming up, we were going to further our education beyond high school. Both my parents did. And They really emphasized the need for us to continue on. But, you know, my biggest example was really my sister, because she had already enrolled in school, and my parents didn't even know it. She enrolled in school and was already, you know, doing her thing. But that would serve as an example that we can, you know, but it was always one that you could do. It would help you. You won't have to struggle like Jason was saying. You won't have to struggle like we did when we were, yeah. I mean, you can go to trade school, you can go to college, but whatever you do, go do something beyond what we did. And it kind of reminds me of, like, you know, that whole thing about arrows and how our parents they want to shoot us out further than where they were. You know, they want us to do better than what they did. You know, and take advantage of the opportunities. I guess that's what my parents did. You know, but that's how I wound up going to college, and I wound up being around different people, and God allowed me to understand, hey, this is all about you providing a better life for you, where you won't have to struggle as hard. You know.
So what I'm hearing from the two of you guys is that Terry, your parents said, hey, you need this, go get it. And correct me if I'm overgeneralizing. Go get it. You just kind of need this better education because I couldn't get it, right? So,
right.
And my parents, and Jason, your mom was like, hey, you know, I need you to you have the opportunity. I need you basically to exercise your opportunity. Not everybody has this opportunity, but you, my son, have this opportunity. You need to exercise it. Am I correct? I'm just summing up what you guys just told me, right? And in my case, my parents were more like,
yep.
You need this to have a better way of life. And I highlight that to ask this question is a very simple question. As black parents, fathers, mothers, uncles, aunts, whatever, why is it so important for us to get our kids good education? This is and the reason I ask this question, because as I read statistics today, our kids are turning out to be not the best educated children. We're not making the best grades in grade school, junior high, high school. We're not going on in huge numbers into secondary education. We're not going on to become those entrepreneurs and business owners of the future. We're not doing any of those things. What is going on with the black family dynamic that is keeping us from this? Because all of the three of us, we have our own stories, but our stories are similar. Our stories say, look, you have an opportunity. Look, this is what you need to do because I couldn't do it. And look, if you do this, you'll have a better life. The three of us have just said that. So why aren't we doing better in school today?
The way I look at it, it's almost like the goalposts are being moved on us.
The goalposts are being moved.
Yeah, when I say that, I mean, like, take, for instance, before, you know, I look at, like, when we were in school, 2 + 2 = what? 4, you know. And it was simple things like that we learned, and we learned those things. But now it's become much more complicated than that. 2 + 2, yeah, it equals 4, but you got to understand that there's another way that it equals 4 too. You know, this many blocks minus this many blocks, and you know, it's really what's happening is, and I call that being the goalpost being moved. But really, you know, it's really they say it's to challenge our children in critical thinking. You know, but I'm looking at it from a standpoint is that it confuses our kids, and our kids get frustrated with school. Our kids learn differently. Some of our kids learn differently than other kids. You know, some of our kids learn better doing hands-on stuff than just sitting there straight lecture. I mean, and honestly,
yeah, but how many
school has become frustrating.
How many elementary schools do you know that go straight lecture? I'm sorry, I ain't never been to one of them schools, but I haven't been into a school in 20 years, I guess. So how many elementary schools do you know that teach straight lecture? Mm-hmm. The reason I'm asking that question because I just think I understand it, but I mean, if you were talking about college, I get it. But when we're talking before we get to college, or let's just say up to junior high, I don't even know many high school teachers who teach straight lecture. I guess what I'm saying is I hear what you're saying about moving the goalposts. Now, why is that important though? That you identify that, hey, you know what, they're moving the goalposts. Why is that so important? Why should we as parents understand that that's what's happening?
I just don't want to jump in on time, but I guess my thing is with this one.
No, it's for you, Terry. That's a question for you.
Oh, it's for me. It's for me. Why is it very important for parents to understand that? Is because what used to take a high school diploma or GED back when my parents was younger, now it takes a bachelor's degree or a master's now. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's like, it's huh? You understand what I'm talking about?
That's a movement of the goalpost. That's one of the blatant examples. But go ahead. That is a movement of the goalpost. You know, and because for a black kid, you'd have to have a bachelor's degree to get this job. But if you're not black, let's just go ahead and lay it out. If you're white and you know somebody, you ain't got to have a bachelor's degree. Oh, you started college 2 years ago, but you ain't finished, but you still in, right? Yeah. Then you can go get that job. But anyway, go ahead. Let's just call it duck and duck. But go ahead.
They do those things. They do things in the workplace, you know, like that. Like, you know, because I remember when I first started the company 21 years ago, all you had to have was a bachelor's degree and maybe like 2 years experience to start the company like this. Now you got to have a master's degree plus $20,000 in the bank. Not only the master's degree, but you got to have like 5 years experience on top of that in child welfare. I mean,
but you know what's funny about that? You know what's funny about that? Is you're going to tell me as a business owner my educational background. How do you know I'm even going to be running the company? I can open up the business and I can pay somebody to do it. As Bill Gates once said, he said, a PhD, I can hire people with PhDs.
PhD.
I don't need one. So, but anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
But to start the business, but to actually start the business and to be in that position of a Bill Gates, you know what I'm saying? They've moved the goalpost on some things, you know, as a requirement of your like state if you're being regulated by the state, they've got different requirements, and to be the Bill Gates, what used to be like where you only have to need your high school diploma, now you need your master's or a PhD, you know, and those are the things that the kids need to know, that the goalpost, as long as other people are in power or in control in the workplace, they're going to do whatever they can to maintain that and to keep you at a certain point, and to keep certain people of color from being able to move up in companies or to do things, because they're going to keep on making. I'm reminded of what happened in the movie. What's about the woman that did the rocket ship? What's her name? What's the name of that movie? She was the one. Yeah, Hidden Figures. How when Janelle Monáe's character was wanting to be an engineer, well, she already had the basics, but then the woman comes back and goes, no, that's not like that anymore. You've got to go take extra classes to be that. And she said they're always moving. They're always putting obstacles in our way to keep us from being able to reach our goal. You know, and so what did she have to do? She had to apply for a court order to go to this all-white school, to be able to go to the all-white school, to be able to become an engineer. You know, they're always,
to become what she already was.
Right. So that's why I believe it's very important for our parents, to understand the importance. It may not be a formal college degree. It may be becoming a master plumber or learning a trade, electrician.
Well, we haven't even gotten to college. We're talking high school and grade school right now.
Right.
Well, I mean, and we can go ahead and jump it up. But see, my thing is this right here. It was instilled in me at a very young age that you need to do more, and in order for you to be better, you got to be able to do more. You know, it's not good enough for you to be as good as the other kids. You have to be able to be as intelligent and as fast a thinker as the other kids. But check this, you have to produce more. So in other words, my parents told me, Sedric, it's not good enough for you to be a straight A student in social studies. It's not good enough for you to have straight A's in math or history or any of those other classes. You and language arts and all that, you have to be good in all of them to even be considered to have a seat at the table for one of them. And that's the problem I have.
Yeah.
That's the problem I have. And I think that's why it's so important for us as parents, why we have to check this. Why is it important for us to save up and send our kids to college? It's important for us because we have to be able to teach them that starting at a young age, instill that in them, nurture that growth until they get older, right? Because going through grade school is not easy. Then, because check this out. Jason, Terry, either you guys ever do spelling bee when you were growing up? You ever do a spelling bee?
Yes.
What about you, Jason?
No, that wasn't my forte. No.
Your forte. Well, check this out. Okay. What achievement? Just give me an achievement that you had that required you to go through your class, through your school, through your grade level, and then to other schools and compete. Is there anything that you've ever done, either one of you guys, where it required you to do that?
I was on the academic decathlon team for like one semester.
Okay, decathlon team, academic decathlon team. Okay, well, for those of us who don't know what that is, tell us what it is real quick.
It's basically, your school gets a various group of students represented in different areas. Like I did mathematics. We had one for reading, language arts. We had one for science. And different fields of study, and you compete against other schools to say, who puts on the best presentation or gets the most right answers. Okay,
I mean that's perfectly fine. Almost like a spelling bee of sorts. Okay, I just want to make sure that everybody's on board just like me. Okay, what about you, Terry?
What was it? Can you repeat the question one more time, please?
Have you done anything in school that required you to be the best in your class, the best in your grade level, the best in your school, and then you competed against other schools? I don't know any better way to say it. I'm sorry. My vocabulary is limited.
Yeah, but it wasn't necessarily at school per se. It was
if it wasn't at
piece that I went through.
If it wasn't at school, go ahead and say it.
It was. I was part of the Boys State piece, and I wound up having to run and develop a political platform to win the governorship of Kentucky Boys State. And so I did that, worked with other people, and I was one of only like 6 black people in the whole.
Just yes, you did that. You
yes,
did
we
that?
did.
I want you to stop right
there.
Yes, we did. Okay.
Yes,
all right.
sir.
So you did that. Now,
yes.
Now we'll go into the rest of this. Okay. Check this out. And I myself participated in some spelling bees and some Black History competitions. Matter of fact, Black History up until I joined the Army. And so here's the question I have. As you guys progressed in these programs, and you look to your left and you look to your right, your peers, were they the same color as you, or did the colors start to fade?
They were not the same colors.
What about you, Jason?
No, I was a minority in my particular area.
So the reason I'm asking these questions, and the reason I want to frame it this way, is that the higher we go into these programs, these specialty programs, these one-off programs, these spelling bees, these governorship programs, these what you said it was a decathlon, Jason. The more we get into these programs, the fewer people that look like us. I want to know why is it that we aren't. It seems like we as parents aren't supporting our kids to go on into programs like this. And when we look at the other kids, we say, well, look at old Bobby Baker over there. He's got a 4-year scholarship to go to Princeton. But Bobby Baker has been competing in these organizations, these different programs, since he was in elementary school. He wasn't the best, but he was in the program. And he was getting extracurricular activity and extra grades where you were getting graded on 10 projects. Well, Bobby Baker was getting graded on 15 projects, so his GPA was higher than yours, right? And so why is it so important for us to teach our kids these things? Why is it so important for us as Black parents, the meat of what we want to talk about today? Why is it so important for us? And how can we get our kids into higher education? How can we get our kids into college? How can we get our kids into one of those old school proverbial trade schools where they learn on-the-job training so that they can go and get into a profession? My question is, why is it so important for us to send our kids to college?
One of the things that you said earlier, I think that is that sticks with me, is my parents, they told us, look, you've always got to be better than them, which means you can't do what they do. You can't wear jeans. You got to wear slacks. You got to present yourself. Your mind has got to be, you can't just walk in and expect things to just fall in your lap. You got to be 10 times better than them. That was what was always put before me. When we kind of did that same thing with our daughter, and it's kind of made her this overachiever kind of kid. But it's one of those type of things. But honey, you can't just rest on your laurels. You just can't do what they do. In other words, you can't go. You don't have daddy in a position in corporate America that can give you a job like that. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to present yourself. You're going to have to show that you know what you're doing, even more than, and really present that to people in a way that's going to be like, you know something, we want her on the team, because you're just not going to have those many opportunities as they do.
Okay. Jason, what were you about to say?
So I think it's important. What I learned in the higher education, and you kind of spoke to it, I don't know if it was you or Terry that spoke to it earlier, it's not the education, it's the connections. And, when you talk about that person who gets the job because they know somebody, what I experienced, and I kicked myself in the butt over it, when I was a junior in college, my grades weren't great. I mean, I wasn't even a C student. I was like a 2.0 GPA. I was just horrible at school. But because of the school I went to, I had a guy approach me and say, okay, when you graduate from this school, I will give you, I'll do it like a franchise. And what it is it's a lawn care franchise. And all you have, you'll be the president and CEO, and you get to grow the business like you want. And I'm going to let you into that program. I mean, didn't know my GPA, didn't know anything about me other than I went to that school and I played sports. So that just resonated to me. It was like, wow. When you talk about the higher education, I think it's important because it does open avenues and it does allow you to build those connections. So I think what we have to do a better job is letting our kids understand, like, yeah, you need to get in college because it may not, because we've all had that situation where I feel like I'm more qualified for a position, but because this person knows that other person, then they get the job. And unfortunately, that's the system. And I think what we have to do is let our kids know, well, this is the system that you have in place. So if you want to succeed in this system, you kind of got to play the game. That means that you got to go to college. And when you get to college, you got to network and meet people because you never know 5 years from now, that guy that you share the suite with, maybe that person that you're interviewing with for that next position, right? So yeah. So I just to close, I'm saying, like, yeah, I think college is important, not so much for the educational perspective, but just for the networking and who you meet in perspective.
So this great college love affair that we have in America, it ain't really about the education in your words, Jason. It's about getting to know who you can get to know.
The network. Mm-hmm. That's truly all it's about. It's about the network.
It's about the network. See, because when I think of college, when I think of sending my kids to college, honestly, between the three of us, I wasn't trying to send them to college to meet nobody. Though it could prove to be very beneficial for them in the future. But if that's the reason why I'm sending them to school, I'm basically like a gold digger. I'm saying, girl, I'm going to dress my daughter up. My daughter beautiful. Let me get her implants. Let me get everything. Let me make sure I pay for her to work out. Let me make her look good so she can go out there and catch this guy who got all this money. See, I don't think college, for us as blacks in this world, I don't think that's what college is set out to be. I think for us as a people, and for me as a father, college for me is to expose my kids to higher learning, education, different methods, different businesses, to open up their minds so that they can see the potential in, let's use a cell phone. See, I never saw cell phones doing what they do today back in the mid-'90s when I had an opportunity to get in on with this company. I saw a cell phone as a means of communication, and that's all I saw. I never saw an app. I never saw a text message. I didn't know, right? The only reason I knew text messages is because before cell phones, we had pagers. See, I think when we expose our kids to college, we need to help them to open up their minds. We need to let them know that, look, you're going here. Yes, there's an opportunity for you to meet some really cool people who can help you down the road in your career path. But the thing I need you to truly get from college is, again, like I told you, my parents taught me, you know the job of the person beneath you, you know your job, the person over you, and you better know something about the person over that person's job, right? Your supervisor, his manager, you better know something about his job. That's why I want you to go to college. I want you to get every facet. You know how, guys, you know how it is. You want to start your own business, but you don't even know how to go get an EIN number. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how to go in. You don't know how to set up a business plan. I want you to go to college so you can learn the ins and outs. Why? Why is it important for us to help our kids understand who they are, what they are, so that they can learn what they want to do? It's important, I believe, because, here it is, I believe it's important that we expose them to these things so that they can figure it out. You know, so many times, how many of us have met, and I don't mean to be racist, but how many of us have met a Jewish family, and we learned that this Jewish friend that we have is only going into the family business because it is the family business. He may not even like it. How many of us know people like that? And again, I apologize if I sound racist. I use Jewish because I know a Jewish friend, and that's what they did.
Yep.
But how many of us have friends like that?
Yep.
Jason, you got any friends like that? They don't even have to be Jewish. You can be anything, any color, any race,
Friends?
any people. Do you know anybody like that? They went into
my kid's granddad is exactly what, you know, and we talk about that. And what I realized, one of the other things I realized in college, it's about legacy. And
it's about,
you know,
you said it's about what?
Legacy.
Okay, legacy.
You know, and okay. I look at the situation where my son could possibly step into his granddad's shoes and run that same company that his father started. And it just really resonated with me that sometimes, you know, when you start having success, and that's one thing we don't have as a people. We don't have a legacy of success that we can pass down to generation over generation, where you see in other groups they have that, just like you spoke of, that family business that been through 4 or 5 generations, and every generation kind of builds on and makes it better. And, you know, that wealth that comes from that. Why is that important?
Why is that
because,
important?
Well, it's important because, like I said, you now change, if you can change that, you change your legacy. And now what you do is set up a situation not just for yourself, but for future generations in that family. And that's what I've seen more so than anything else.
Right, but for fear of changing the subject here, I'm talking about why is it important for us to send our kids to college. You said it's important for you to send your kids to college so they can further the family legacy. But why does it have to be the same job? Why can't I be an IT consultant and my son go to school to become a structural engineer and my daughter go to school to be a stockbroker? Why can't I do that? I mean, it still preserves the family name.
I'll tell you what I see. You know, because you speak about that kid who's doing the family business, but really doesn't want to do the family business. But just understand that if you own the business, then you shield your children from all the other stuff. Like that, you know, how many times have you seen that kid that really doesn't want to do the family business, but get into the family business, and you know they come to like it, they come to enjoy it, and make money off of it. So, you know, some of the things we talk about that we have to face, having to work 10 times as hard, twice as hard for half the amount of pay. when you get that wealth and you get that influence and you own your own company, your children don't have to suffer through that, you know. And you see that. And how many times you see kids who have, you know, affluent parents, and they're not very good kids, but they make a lot of money because they've been handed daddy's business, and they just kind of run with it. And daddy taught them how to run with it.
Right, but let's also be frank. Most of the businesses that are owned in America are not owned by quote unquote affluent people. Okay, they're hardworking everyday people like small businesses. You know, I don't want to get off the point I was going to make, but I think that's what the point you make, Jason, is excellent. It's a great point. I just think that from an average everyday standpoint, the average everyday Joe, it doesn't really apply. They can't even think on that level. They don't even know where you're going with that, other than the fact that you just work for daddy's company. They don't know what goes into it. So, but the point I wanted to make, and the reason I asked that question, I'm going to jump back on my point here, is that both of you, all of us have already made the statement, you know, we have to be better than them, right? But here's my reason, and the question I'm asking is I guess right now the question I want to answer is why is it important that we send our kids to college? And my thought is I started looking through some reasons why not, and some of my things were, well, we can't afford college. You know, mom, dad, you didn't go to college, you didn't graduate. I don't know what that's like, or you know what, I don't even know what I want to major in, because y'all know how kids are when they get to college. And then started talking about how it's too hard. I'm just not put together. Jason, you told me a story earlier. My son's he just doesn't have what it takes to be a college student. Some kids, they get to a point and they say, well, I just won't fit in. I don't want to go there. Here's my reason for going to college. And you guys can give me some of your reasons that you've heard about not going, but here's my big reason for going to college. Here it is. Check this out. My big reason for going to college, in different words, is I wanted to send my kids to college. Here it is. Basically, to create a love for knowledge and education so that they can blaze their own path. If they want to stay in the family business, they can. If they want to try something new, they can. I wanted to open my kids' eyes up to what the world really is. I didn't want them looking at life through the eyes of a kid who grew up in the suburbs, who basically all they had to do was say, Mama, Daddy, I want this. I didn't want that for my kids. I wanted them to wake up one day and say, you know what, my dad, he works hard. This is what he does. Let me streamline a process for him so I can help him make more money, make a better living, enjoy what he does more, but we'll save him some time. We'll save him some energy. We'll save him some heartache. He won't have to learn every single thing the hard way. Let me get in here and teach him. So for me and in my house, that was one of the biggest reasons I wanted my kids to go to college. I wanted them to go because we all need a healthy love affair with knowledge and education. We all do. We have to have it. Find something you love doing today, and you'll never work again tomorrow because you'll be doing what you love. So that's my big thing. What about you guys? What are some of the objections you had to overcome when you started college, and by the time you finished, you realized, hey, this is why it's important for my kids to go to college?
I think for me, it was.
Oh, let's start with Jay.
Oh, okay. Oh, like I said, for me, what I realized in college is that networking piece. Because growing up, when I grew up, I knew some people, and the people I knew were in my same little circle, right? Middle class people who really work hard. Some had education, some didn't. And when I went to college, like you spoke of, is exposure, and that exposure for me kind of broadened my horizon, but it also opened up, the people I now can network with. And for me, when I talk to my children, especially about, what they're going to do after high school, it's really about, finding people that, you can learn from, you can leverage to get to that next place. So going into college, I really didn't think college was really that important. It's like, man, whatever. I mean, because you've heard so many stories about people being successful out of college. Coming out, though, I realized it is important, not for the reasons we sometimes think that it is, at least for me, not from an educational perspective, but just from like the people that you meet, the expanding of your mind, and then, you know, how you can leverage both of those once you get done with school.
What about yourself, Terry?
Going to college for me was really about opening my eyes to something bigger than what I had grew up in. It allowed me to see the world in a totally different view. To be around people from different countries and nationalities, it allowed me again to expand my view from just a Louisville, Kentucky view, but to a world view, which allowed me the opportunity to really begin to understand what it means to develop healthy relationships, working relationships with people, and to grow into a independent adult. But it was allowed me an opportunity to dream, even while in college, and dream in a safe space, in a creative space, where I can really begin to put pen to paper, thoughts to paper on what I would like to do with my life. Go ahead.
No, finish what you're saying, man. Explanations that the two of you have given me about what it was like in your decision to go to college. How does that impact, or how has that impacted your desire for your children to be the exact same thing?
Oh, that was one of the main reasons.
What were some of the reasons why when maybe your child said, well, I don't want to go to college, or what were some of the things you gave them to kind of look forward to help launch them forward? Because, you guys know, like me, education, you have to have a healthy relationship with education. So what thoughts went into deciding that? I want my kids to go to college because. Finish that sentence, if you would.
I wanted my daughter to go to college so that she can have a better life for herself, and also expand her view beyond where she was. And that's what she did. She chose to go to a place where she didn't know anybody. She didn't want to go to a local school in the city or in the state of Kentucky. She wanted to go away, and we supported her in her decision to go away to college. We wanted, and that allowed her to have a true world view in a safe place, and that has really opened her eyes to some things.
So her going away, how did that help you help her per se? I mean, what did that do for you and your wife in helping her? And then how did she respond to all of that? Oh, wow, that's a good question. I think it allowed us to be able to, okay, honey, we support you, and allowed her to make some decisions for herself that I don't think that she would have made if she stayed here. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and elaborate.
I think some of the things that she had ventured into and did while she was in college, I don't think she would have done those things while she was here. There was many things that she's experienced that is because she went away to school. She experienced, and she would have probably experienced it here, but I'm glad she experienced it there because she had to deal with it. She experienced racism there, and this was something that she had to deal with, and it wasn't something that mommy and daddy could save her from. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if she was here, we would have been like, oh, heck no.
Yeah. So and it's funny you say that because, man, racism does play a big role. Honestly, one of my thoughts about college, remember I told you about Texas A&M. They had never had a black battalion commander by the time I was looking at Texas A&M. And when I went to visit the campus way back many years ago, I wasn't happy with what I was seeing. This wasn't the same school that I had watched that come play at the Cotton Bowl, and I got to look at their drum majors and their ROTC cadets. They wasn't the same school, when you got on campus. So that created a fear in me, and I was like, and honestly, between the three of us, cost me one heck of an education because there's just no way I was going to do it, right? And I think it's important, like what you did for your daughter, and to be able to support her. See, I didn't have that support system. Let me fix that. I didn't feel like I had that support system when I was growing up, and so that's another reason for me why when I wanted my oldest daughter, to go to school. Now I didn't want to pick the school that she went to. I would have never picked that school, but she wanted to go there. We visited the campus, so we got her enrolled. And everything you talked about, Terry, that your daughter experienced, my daughter experienced. She experienced every bit of it. And she was in small town Oklahoma. In the back, she was in small town Oklahoma. She experienced it all. And one of the reasons I wanted her to, I would not allow her to transfer to another school until she was graduated, and it wouldn't happen because you didn't put me in debt. I need you to finish this school. I need you to learn all you can. But one of the things I talked about, why it's important for us as parents to help them get to college, is I wanted her to take up computer science. It's my background, right? That's what I wanted for her. Well, guess what? After one semester, and she took a Java programming class, which I helped tutor her on, and I got to admit, I did a couple of things wrong. I even took a couple of quizzes for her in the library. She called me on the phone. She read the question. I give her the answer, right? Because we only had a few seconds. And she aced the quizzes. But she said, Dad, I can't do this. She said, how did you learn this without going to college? I can't do it. And so she quit. And she chose a different major, right? She chose a double major. And now she's not doing anything to do with either one of those majors. So this is the next question I got for you guys. Do you think college is worth the price of admission today? If you do, why? If you do not, why not?
Oh, no. It's way too expensive. It's way too expensive. And honestly, and the more I look at it, I'm like, the different routes that you can go to get that same education, that if somebody went straight into college, a four-year university, that they had to spend their first 2 years at a junior college, it would have cut the cost of going to a four-year university in half. By at least a third, wouldn't it? Right, at least a third. You say half. And so I say half, third, but it would have cost, but because it's so expensive. When you're talking about room, board, all that, books, you're talking books for one semester, almost $1,000 for books. I'm like, huh? And it's right. The cost is just it's ridiculous. Yeah, and it becomes the point where you have to think, is this really worth it? And some of our black families today are facing these issues with trying to get their kids into college. What about you, Jason? You think the cost of tuition is worth it or not worth it? And if so,
I say it
why?
Is.
If not, why?
I say
it is. Why? Go ahead.
Like I said, I think the avenues that are opened up from those 4 years there are well worth it, because they'll pay dividends over the lifetime. And once again, understand that I'm looking at college not from an educational perspective, but who do I meet that I can use when I get out? And I think that in and of itself will pay itself as well. So it's a really solid investment. Well, that's going to be another caveat. You've got to go to the right school. Like, you're not paying thousands of dollars to go to a school that doesn't have a strong network of alumni. And that's one of the things I talk to my kids about. Well, that's one of the things that
any school you go to, you're gonna spend thousands of dollars. And
right.
You can't. But you can't get beyond that.
Right. But the thing about it is, one of the things I told my kids, and one of the things we're gonna do when we actually start looking at colleges, because they're not quite that age yet, we're gonna look like the alumni network. We're gonna look at, okay, because when I graduate, how do I make sure that I do find some work? I do find a way to get in, and a way to get started. Now, keep in mind when I talk about the networking piece, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be super successful, but it does open up the opportunity for that, more so than someone who doesn't have that. Right? You still gonna have to earn it. You're still gonna have to push it. You're still gonna have to show yourself, and prove yourself. But just to be able to get in through the door, just because you graduated, you wear the same colors as the hiring manager. I mean, that's just an opportunity that probably won't get afforded to you if you didn't go.
Okay, Terry, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, I believe that's a small part, Jason. I mean, I'm just being honest with you because I actually went to one of those schools. That's a very well-known school, Catholic school, University of Dayton. And I didn't stay. I mean, I got a job in this, but it was another state. But I decided to come back here. And yes, the alumni network at the University of Dayton is amazing. But it wasn't the alumni network that helped me get my first job. It wasn't career placement, even though we had a great career placement office at the University of Dayton that places people in jobs. Great. Those are things that you look for. But what really helped me with the University of Dayton get my very first job was the very fact that I went to the University of Dayton in the region. And the name alone had people looking at my resume. Does that make sense? And I mean, and it's not, and it's regional. It's regional, and those are things that because like if your child leaves that region, that name, that school name does not carry that much weight in a lot of places. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It does not. And so, but in that network, you may have an alumni network. It may be nice, but it's great. But but you got to look at all the different things. What's really gonna matter when the rubber hits the road is that your child got that degree or whatever it is that they applied for, and honestly, it may not be the field like what Minister Sedric was talking about with his daughter. She may not be in the field of her study, but at least it was in one of those things where it says or a field comparable, to help open the door and get her in somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So it's that piece of paper per se, more than anything.
So here's the thing, and that's perfect because here's the thing. I know we got to close out in a few minutes, but man, I really didn't get all of my stuff out. I didn't air all my grievances because here's another thing. Here's another thing that I can say I like about college and I haven't gone. See, I got to tell you guys, I'm kind of the biggest skeptic when it comes to college. I don't really believe college. I don't really believe that we all need to go to college. I'm going to put that out there, and I'm going to tell you why. Again, working in the IT field, being a consultant, being a network administrator, working for different companies, I find that if you know your job, when it comes to IT, you can learn your job. And if you've got a mind that says, I just don't want to go to college, college is boring, I'm going to say this to young people who choose the route that I had chosen when I first got into IT. I chose to basically buy a bunch of books, spend a whole bunch of time reading a whole bunch of boring stuff. I'm just going to be honest, stuff that I didn't understand. Like I could not figure out what they were talking about for the life of me as I was going through these books. But when you sat me in front of a computer and you got that program up, man, it was wheels off. They were like, man, this guy's really good. I remember my first job interview was Novell, way back in the 90s. And if they would have told me, we need you to unbox this computer and hook it up, I'd have been like, Jigga, what? I wouldn't have been able to do it. But they sat me at a computer and they said, click on this red and white icon, and that launches the Novell program. It was a testing system that I had to take. I had to take a test. I was at a job interview. When I tell you I aced the Novell, everything Novell, I aced it. But I ain't know nothing about computers. But I was applying for check it out, a system admin job. Well, anybody who works in the field know that you're going to get some computer questions. But the only thing Novell was concerned about was, do you know Novell? Hey, I'm in. Anyway, I say that to say this. I took the test. I passed the job interview. I got the job. While I was on the job, here it is. This is the drawback for all the little boys and girls who don't want to go to college. The drawback was when all my friends was partying and kicking it on the weekend and having a good time after work, I had to go home and study. Why? Because I didn't go to college. The stuff they learned 4 years in college, I didn't know. I didn't know the basics. I knew Novell. That was it. So I spent 2 to 3 hours every day of my life trying to catch up. But here's the caveat. I want y'all boys and girls to hear this. All it took me was 1.5 years to catch up. That's it. They spent 4 years. I spent 18 months. They only know different. I got caught up, and I haven't stopped studying since. I want to say this. When you go to college, no matter where we send our kids, we want the best. But if our kids don't apply themselves, everything that we want for them is going to be for naught because they have to do the job. They have to make the grade. They have to make every decision. They have to do the hard work. The heavy lifting is up to them. So I admire the reasons that both of you guys were sending your kids to school or want to send your kids to school, and I think they are honorable. I think they are noble. I think the most important thing we have to do, though, is to get them in school, whether they go to what they call a trade school, a traditional college, or whether they go maybe they want to be auto mechanic and they go OJT and they go get a job and they learn it. The key is for us as parents to push them in the right direction and support them as best we can, because that's the only way that education, no matter what kind of education it is going to pay off in the future. And with that said, fellas, I know we've come to the end of our time. I want to pick this up again another day. Next week we gotta come up with it. We gotta come with it. You guys got any kind of closing arguments, any word of encouragement for people who might be struggling before we? Because Sister Kim is already queued up the music. She ready to blast us out in a second.
I'm good.
Any last words?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah. All right, man. Fellas, thank y'all so much. And, again, I'm going to continue to pray that God blesses the both of you and your families. And please keep this horrendous COVID-19 away from everybody. You guys be safe. Wear your mask. Stay away from crowded folks. Social distancing is the key. This is Minister Sedric. And as I always say, find something you love. I want you to find it. I want you to chase it. I want you to embrace it. And that is your relentless pursuit. God bless you. Until next week, take care. Have a good night. Go ahead, Sister Kim.
Thank you, Father. Bless me through my hard times. Jail cells and penitentiaries. Bad marriages. Foul living. Dropping through all of it. I thank you. Being my Lord and Savior. You know. I walk and talk to the word of God with no shame. I seek it up the weak, release and seat like hot flames. I'm heavy in the game, ordained to make it rain. Devoted with the morning, Holy Spirit in my veins. When I'm baptized in the Holy Ghost is released. Destroy the enemy, blessed to be a holy peace. Evangelize this truth, and God has set some souls free. Me and my saints, we go and keep my guarantee, you know me. Down in the dirty, all my saints stay thirsty. For the word of God, gotta get the church early. Worship with the sun, watch the Holy Ghost come. When my lyrics tear through the air, the devil better run. Attack with the drums, boy, here it comes. God's words and arsenal, proverbs and songs. Coming through your ears, a true holy writer. Doing God's work like the prophet they call it light.
Thank you for giving all your love. You were the only one there when things got rough. My Lord, my God, my Savior. Your power reigns from up above. Thank you for giving all your love. You were the only one there when things got rough. My Lord, my God, my Savior. Your power reigns from up above.
I got some letters and some cards from my sisters in Virginia. Robin and Aisha had my back, I remember. When I was locked up down in Florida fighting cases, the Lord lifted me up, kept me strong, gave me patience. Daily meditation in His Word was my fortune. God gave me power more than 500 horses. He told me first, well, my son, get the job done. Preach to the people, make me number one in your life, day and night. Treat the wrong, to the right. Help your fellow man, don't fuss and don't fight. Set aside pride, open up your eyes, stop telling lies. A word to the wise, you can hear his command. Get saved, man. Judgment day's at hand. I'm going to hell and be that fish in the frying pan. You know what I'm saying? We heard it all before. Going to church to see them hypocrites fall to the floor. This is my report. I tell it like it is. The church was set to free. My mama told me as a kid. Sin was condemned. Each and every person living in the world doing dirt like a serpent. You need to start searching your heart and your mind. Get right for God before you run out of time. That's the bottom line. God gave us free will. Make the right choice and let him show you what's real. I thank you for my brother's life. I thank you for the word. Saved by God's grace much more than I deserve.
Thank you for giving all your love. You were the only one there when things got rough. My Lord, my God, my Savior. Your power reigns from up above. Thank you for giving all your love. You were the only one there when things got rough. My Lord, my God, my Savior. Your power reigns from up above. Thank you for giving all your love. You were the only one there when things got rough. My Lord, my God, my Savior. Your power reigns from up above. Thank you for giving all your love. You were the only one there when things got rough. My Lord, my God, my Savior. Your power reigns from up above.
I still love you. Thank you, Jesus. Apostle Thomas, you know what it is. It's about God. To our DIE. Praise His name.